or if it's over for him. But he's got to buckle down, he's got to lock in, and he has to be dedicated to becoming a better quarterback and leading this team, because this is just too talented a roster to fail.
And Carl, what do you see in the Bengals' future?
The Bengals are coming off another third straight playoff appearance. They seem to be consistently not doing anything more. I want them to go find a player in the draft who can really make an impact. It's hard to say on this Bengals team that you really need another receiver. Or, I mean, they just got Giovanni Bernard in the draft, and those are two players with A.J. Green on the other side of the ball that I don't know if you really need another offensive weapon. What I think is they really need an impact guy to come onto that defense. Here's one of the things they have. They only have one sack in this game. That's a big issue. I think they need somebody to come in on their defensive line and truly be an impact maker. So that's where I look for them to go in the future. But I think they'll still win the NFC North next year and likely the year. I mean, for years, I think they're the best team easily in the AFC North.
Yeah, look, they have all the pieces, I think, on offense. I think Andy Dalton, you're right. Next year could be a career-defining year. But the thing is, the one step that I think he needs to take is really starting to decide whether or not he wants to go above or wants to stay at his current level of a guy who can perform in the regular season when the pressure's on, can't do it, or if he wants to just go a little bit higher. And I really hope he does go higher, because I think this team has great potential. I think Giovanni Bernard is a phenomenal running back. I like the combination with Green Ellis. A.J. Green had a terrific year, and Marvin Jones stepped up in a big way as well. I think this team has great potential, and you're right, the sacks are an issue. I just don't know what went wrong for this team, truly. Look, they didn't lose a single game at home during the whole year. They beat San Diego in San Diego 17-10, and then this happens. Once again, though, not able to put up points. So it's also a factor. You have to factor in the fact that they were unable to put up points in these games, and that's a big thing. The games where they beat the good teams, like Indianapolis, they put up big numbers. But when it came down to it, they were really unable to get it done in this game, in the biggest game of all. I think the Bengals are trending upwards. And now to conclude this Bengals and San Diego section, we are going to just talk about San Diego. And Jake, this team has performed, I think, above everybody's expectations. Do you think fans should have hope for the future in these playoffs? Do you think they have a shot at possibly winning it?
Yes, this was really scary for me when this thought came across my mind. But the more you think about it, it seems to be true. This playoff run for the Chargers is reminding me a lot of what we saw from the Packers when they won Super Bowl 45. Ending the season hot, creeping in as a 6th seed, beating really good teams to get there, having a quarterback who at the time is somewhat underrated, and now here they are, facing a team that they've already beaten this year in the Denver Broncos. This team, it's a scary thought, but this team has what it takes to win it all. I don't think they will, but this team absolutely has what it takes, and the Chargers should be on everybody's watch list because they're a scary team.
Carl, what are your thoughts on this up-and-coming Chargers team?
I believe even more than Jake that this team can really go far. This team has the first step is a quarterback who's hot and talented in Phillip Rivers. Really, overall, this team is great, but you have to look at especially a very well-built receiving core with Antonio Gates, Eddie Royal, Keenan Allen. There's all sorts of weapons there. Ryan Matthews was not great this last game, but he can be great, and Danny Woodhead adds to that attack. They're an all-around great offense. My biggest question is how will they hold up next week Peyton Manning with a 29th ranked passing defense. And then, it's hard to say after that, but it's going to be tough for them to be able to stop Peyton Manning. That's their biggest challenge.
Yeah. And, Jake, you have something to say?
Yeah, I mean, the other thing with San Diego, by the way, is Manti Te'o has shown up out of nowhere. After we all thought he was a bust, slowly but surely he's back. Today he had 8 combined tackles. Last week, I believe, he had 10 or 11. The rookies in this team are having an impact. Arguably the biggest impact of any other drafted players from this past draft on any team in the NFL. DJ Fluker is playing a big role, as was Manti Te'o. And of course, how can we forget Keenan Allen? This was a solid draft for the Chargers. This was a solid makeover, and it's paying dividends big time.
Yeah, and as we go into our final game, the Niners versus the Packers, Carl, I would like to point out that Keenan Allen had 2 receptions for 21 yards. Once again, I do not call, even if it's the postseason, I do not call that Rookie of the Year numbers. Eddie Lacy, 81 yards. He didn't have his best game, but I would consider having 1 more carry, but still 15 more yards than Frank Gore, successful. But moving on to the Niners and Packers, this is sparking my depression up until probably March, when March Madness rolls around. And then if Ohio State does not win, depression again until the NFL draft. It was a really tough game to watch. And I'm gonna start this one off. I haven't started one yet. And look, first quarter, we were lucky to come away and still only be down 6-0. I don't think we completed a pass. We had 6 yards of total offense. It was dreadful. We get into the second quarter and we come out and we pull back. It's 13-10. We have a shot. Fourth quarter, we trade leads. It's 20-17, and we were unable to do it in the red zone. We only get a field goal. And then this is my big problem. 3rd down. We have them twice. 3rd and 10. If we stop them here, we're going to get the ball back with a chance to win. 3rd and 8. Considering the ball, considering the wind, just how the footing is, if we had stopped them on a 3rd and 8, we probably would have gotten the ball back again. But twice. We let Colin Kaepernick get outside. We let him find receivers. We let him run for first downs. 3rd down defense. 4th down defense. Bad. We had the 4th and 6. Bad defense. Bad coverage there. Look, 1st down and 2nd down, I didn't have that much of an issue with for the Packers. Sometimes they had big plays, but a lot of the time, they had them on 1st and 2nd down, and they forced them to work. And then 3rd down came along, and 3rd down defense, honestly, it hurts to see that. 3rd down efficiency, they're 6 for 12, and honestly, we have 6 stops, sure. But we go 3 for 11, and the 3rd downs, they got them at the times that hurt. When it didn't matter as much, sometimes they didn't get it and they kept us in the game. But when it mattered, we couldn't get stops. And there's no way around that. A red zone efficiency, we went 2 for 4. Sure, the Niners went 1 for 4. But in the end, our inability lost us the game. They didn't score in the red zone much, but they won the game. Look, I really think we played well. Honestly, we were able to stay in the game. We fought back. We were resilient. But when it came down to it, our inability to convert on defense and offense cost us the game. So I'm going to go to Jake now. Obviously, you're a Packers fan as well. It was a tough game to watch, I think, because we ended up losing in the end. What are your thoughts on the Packers? And I didn't really talk much on the Niners, but what are your thoughts on the teams?
First of all, I didn't find this a tough game to watch. This was a great game. Second, at the end of this game, I wasn't going to be, I'm depressed, but some pizza and, more football will cure that. The thing with the Packers this season was, I'm just happy we made it this far. The resilience of this team, the clutch football, our defense came up when we needed to survive all those injuries. We had to go with Seneca Wallace, Scott Tolzien, Matt Flynn. We had Cobb go down. We had Finley out for the rest of the season. It would take up about an hour of this show to go on about every single injury the Packers have seen. But when they won that game against Dallas, when they won that game against Chicago, this team proved that they have fight in them, and I'm not going to be disappointed about this season at all. Considering the circumstances, very proud of this team and what they've done this season. That said, with Rodgers or without Rodgers, no matter who's at quarterback this season for the Packers, they struggled with red zone efficiency, and it happened today again. Just 2 of 4 in the red zone. They had 4 trips to the red zone, came away with 2 field goals and 2 touchdowns. And also, on third down, when the fourth quarter began, I turned to my dad and I said, "Dad, this game's going to come down to third downs." And it certainly did. That held true. The Niners were 6 of 12 on third down. The Packers were just 3 of 11. I was surprised that our offense was the part that failed us today. But there are certain plays that this game hinged on, and I think Jarrett Bush missing the, blowing the coverage toward the end was really the final dagger for the Packers when he allowed Kaepernick to scramble free. There was one point, though. Normally, I actually agree with Skip Bayless more often than not. He kind of has a bad rep, and there are times I don't blame anyone, but times I think people are hard on him. But in this case, he tweeted out after the game, had Tom Brady been the quarterback of the Packers, Green Bay would have won this game. And that's just simply not true. Again, this game comes down to certain plays. The Packers' offensive line did not cut it today. There was too much pressure on Rodgers. He got sacked far too often. It's back to the drawing board for Green Bay. Look at the offensive line. Build up the secondary. And while we won the turnover battle, and while we technically were more efficient in the red zone, and we got certain stops, it was not enough in the end. And while it was a great run, it was tough for us. And when it came to the 49ers, where they came through was Colin Kaepernick had his big runs again. He seems to be the Packers' kryptonite. One last thing, though, about all the games, by the way. The officiating crews, all in all, did pretty well. Like, there was not much criticism. Even Triplett's crew did well. In the Packers game, they let him play. We saw only 5 penalties in total, combined, for both teams. It was just a tough loss to suffer, but it was a good season. And Packers fans should still take comfort in the fact that we went through hell this season. And to be able to bounce back from all these injuries, to somehow still find a way to scratch and claw our way into the postseason is impressive. And as long as Ted Thompson is GM, this team will be okay. You look forward to the draft. Congratulations to the 49ers. They played a great game. Great playoff football.
Yeah, before I move on to Carl really quickly, Jake, you're right. Like, Colin Kaepernick is our kryptonite. And we do have to, I think the number one thing, I understand the offensive line, but Colin Kaepernick, throughout the year, was almost never above 50 yards, and then comes this game and he rushes for 98. We do have to figure out that defense. So, Carl, the only one here who isn't a fan of either team, what is your opinion on this game?
I'm actually not. I've decided, officially, for Niners fans out there, I'm not going to talk about the Packers because I've just taken 20 minutes of it. I'm going to talk a little bit about the great performance that came out of this Niners team. Obviously, Frank Gore was not outstanding on the ground. 20 for 66 and a touchdown is not great. Kaepernick, though, came through on the ground with 98 yards and a 142-yard run that was just just insane. The biggest thing with them in this game coming in was Kaepernick had not had the year he had last year. But this game looked he wasn't fantastic. 16 for 30, 227, a touchdown and a pick. I've seen a lot better, especially out of Colin Kaepernick. But he made plays when he needed to. That last drive, it seemed like each third down, Kaepernick found a way. It wasn't always the Packers' inefficiency. No, sometimes it was just the Niners having a better offense